Rick Butler. I was the founder of an architectural practice called Butler Co Architects. And I'm the founder and owner of that practice. Started in 1979, which is 40 years ago. Well, the true story is that Rex Hoban, who is now a consultant to Pritchard Adams, was my accountant. I was probably one of his longest standing clients, and when he merged with Kelly's, I came across and met the new team. I mean, our industry is now much more involved in compliance, and Kelly's were quite systematised and organised, which I appreciated. Very important to my office. We're architects, we're running the architectural side, but there's a financial side to it, and there's a compliance side of BAS, and I have a office manager who's very good and has a good connection with Kelly's, and just asks for any advice, any compliance advice. They look after the office, my personal taxation issues, family trust, and my superannuation. And they give me an assessment up front each year of what those costs are going to be. I think all small businesses are being dragged into the new digitised world. Even in architecture, we are much more digitised. For somebody like myself who works on a drawing board with a pencil, they've dragged us along. And compliance, as I said, compliance, I don't want to be worried about our compliance issues, A, in architecture, or B, in financial. We've got a lot of other things to do. So they've made a big difference in, I feel they're a bigger organisation than what I used to work with before, and that worried me if you join a bigger organisation, and they're now a public company. But I've found that the attention to detail with my office has been fine. I think there's a big stretch between architecture and accounting. They're two different fields. So Kelly's, they really just take the worry out of one side of my business. They don't come in and try and tell me how to run a practice. They just keep me out of trouble. And look, with Rex Hoban, who is still part of Kelly's, and Ada, they become business friends, which is how I like to work. I only like to work with good people. It's always been a mantra of mine, especially with clients. Architecture you get very close to people. There's still business connections, but you have to understand each other, and you've got to trust each other. And I think trust is the basis for all business. So I'm delighted with the people I'm working with. I trust them, and I think they trust me. The recommendation is usually matching up personalities. And Rex was recommended to me by a good friend of mine. And so when the recommendation for another business to come to Kelly+Partners, I mean, I would explain what Kelly+Partners is all about, how I understand it, and then I'd watch their reaction. And then I'd eventually say, well, I think you should see Ada, or something like that. So it would be a recommendation I take very seriously, and I would recommend people to Kelly+Partners who I would believe would still be there 10 years later. I find Ada very good to work with. That's a philosophy of mine, that I only want to work with good people, because things are happening every day that you need to make judgments on, and then if you don't know, you get advice.